3 poll questions up here, and I would just like to kind of get your answer in regards to how you, excuse me, the definition you would give for the different type of engaged or disengaged or the actively disengaged employees. So I'll go ahead and give you about 1 more minute to put in your answer or to select an answer, and then I'll go ahead and close the poll and we will start talking about what's the difference between an engaged employee, a not engaged employee, and an actively disengaged employee. So if you want to go ahead and complete your answers, just think that that the Jeopardy music is playing and it's almost time for the final answer to be revealed. So I'll give you about 30 more seconds and we'll go ahead and get started. Perfect. Thank you all for answering the polls. I'm going to go ahead and end the polls and we will go ahead and broadcast the results. So the first one we're going to talk about is the engaged employee. And it looks like 100% everyone was right on the money in regards to an engaged employee works with passion and feel a profound connection to their company. They drive innovation, move the organization forward. That's exactly correct. And so that's what we're going to be talking about throughout this webinar is how do we get our employees to that point? Because right now, we probably have some employees in our organization that are not engaged. And so we have a 70-30 split in regards to the not engaged. So not engaged, the answer is where the 70%, so 70% of you all were absolutely correct. Not engaged employees are essentially checked out. They're sleepwalking through their day, putting time but not energy or passion into their work. So that's the not engaged. So the actively disengaged employee is the one that aren't just, they're just not unhappy at work. They're busy acting out their unhappiness. Every day, these workers undermine what the engaged coworkers accomplish. So they are proactively being disengaged. I mean, they are really trying hard at not being a part of the team. So that's the difference between the actively disengaged and the not engaged. And that I think maybe that is what confused the 30% of the individuals on the not engaged side that put that they put aren't just unhappy. So while both of those are not engaged employees, one person is actively really trying to mucky up the works basically. And it's kind of almost that if I'm unhappy, everyone's going to be unhappy. That's that actively disengaged employee. So let's find a way how to move those people to the engaged employee side, because raise your hand if you think that that would just be great if all of the employees um, are engaged, and that's a great way to kind of start our Monday. Mondays are always hard anyway, and if I have someone in my organization that's actively disengaged, it just makes Mondays that much harder. So yes, I saw a bunch of hands going up. So that's what this webinar is going to talk about, is how to get those from the actively disengaged or disengaged into that employee engagement. So when I talk about employee engagement, go ahead and type in at the bottom of the screen or in the chat box, what do you think about when you hear employee engagement? What are some of the adjectives, some of the words that kind of come to mind when you think about employee engagement? So let's go on the positive side. Recognition, that is absolutely correct. Renee, ownership, passion, dedication, drive. That is right, Renee. Phyllis, passion. Yes, all of those are absolutely correct. So when we look at what the definition of employee engagement, it talks about that emotional connection that I saw a few people were talking about. And it's that emotional connection, commitment to the organization and its goals. And it's and making a positive difference. So that is what we're trying to get to. We're trying to get our employees to have that emotional connection. So as we go throughout the webinar, think about that, just think about those two words, emotional connection, and then to the organization. So three words, emotional connection to the organization. Think about those as we go throughout this webinar, and everything that we do should be driving that type of commitment within our employees. So let's talk about, what does it mean when we have an unhappy employee? So go ahead and type in, what do you think about unhappy employees? What happens to the organization if I have unhappy employees working for me, or within my culture? And I see a few people typing. I love the meme that we have up here about another useless meeting. I know on my Facebook page, every Monday or every Tuesday, I have a people always talk about, here I am into another meeting that we don't need. And I'm like, wow, they are not engaged. So yes, I see bad attitudes, unfocused, unhappy employees put in the absolute minimum. Yes, exactly. And if someone's putting in the absolute minimum, then you definitely know that your customers, your clients aren't getting the best service. Because if I'm only doing the bare minimum, I'm not going above and beyond. I'm not giving that superstar service to the clients or customers, which is problematic to my business, because what keeps bringing people back is the great service. Because what we do, they could get it someplace else. But think about why you shop where you shop. It's because you like that experience. I mean, I can buy paper towels any place, but I don't go to certain stores because I don't like my experience there. I will pay a few cents extra. I might drive a mile down the road to get the better experience. And that's because those employees are more engaged in the process, and they're more engaged in the culture. And so when we're talking about unhappy employees and how it affects your business and the bottom line and the high cost that you're paying, one is 40%. 46% of new hires fail within the first 18 months. We all know how much it costs to recruit people, to bring people in. And it's not just the hard dollars. It's the time. It's that loss of knowledge of, every time my client comes in, they see a new face or they hear a new voice. Now, they're starting to wonder, why am I still with this company if they can't keep their employees? So if I'm churning people, 18 months in, all the time, that's going to be problematic. That's going to cost my business. Also, 89% of these failures are due to the cultural fit. So now I know it's not necessarily that these 46% of the people, they don't necessarily have the skill set, the hard skills, like they can log into their computer, they can sort an Excel spreadsheet. It's the culture that I'm having them log into that computer and sort that spreadsheet is the reason that they are leaving me. So we need to look at that factor. And then turnover costs are often estimated to be 100 to 300% of the base salary of the replaced employee. Excuse me. That's a lot of money. The 300%, that's a newer figure for me. I usually see 100, 150. I have seen 200, but 300% when I was doing some research is actually one of the newer figures. So yes, three times the amount of the replaced employee, and that's taken in consideration all of those factors, just not the hard cost, but the time, the loss of knowledge as well. So now that's kind of the sad want type of, why engagement is so, talking about the bad stuff, why engagement is so important. Let's talk about some of the good things. So think about what happens when you have a happy employee. So go ahead and type in, what happens with your business when you have happy employees and satisfied and engaged employees. So now we're going to go on the positive side of engagement, because I know sometimes in these webinars we just focus on the negative, the negative, the negative. Let's talk about some, yes, productivity, much more productivity. Vanessa, that is absolutely correct. With happy employees, you get 31% higher productivity. That's what every mutual respect for each other. Absolutely right. They go the extra mile. They give your clients that superstar over the top service. I know, in these days, when I go out and I'm having a customer service interaction, it amazes me how much customer service is lacking, and like people just seem like they don't care about their jobs. And if somebody just does a little bit, just a little bit, that we get so excited and over the top, like, wow, that was great customer service, and they just did something so small. Their attitudes can possibly rub off on other employees. That's absolutely right. Just like a negative person can affect the a culture, a positive person can as well. So the other things, you get 30% higher sales. Happy people make happy customers spend more, bottom line. So you have 30% more sales. And then lastly, you have 3 times higher creativity. If I am happy, engaged, and concerned about this company, I want to do the best I can for them. So I'm going to think of new and innovative ideas, outside of the box thinking, creative, and which can help streamline our process, which will help our customers, which will help our clients, which will help the bottom line. So you want to think about that in regards to happy employees. So what makes the happy employee? You know, besides the engagement piece that we're going to talk about and ways that we can kind of help in that engagement, we're going to talk about another piece as well that will affect the happy employee. So real quick, I want you all to type, what do you see? So in that white box, what word do you see? I see people feverishly typing good, good, yes, good. I'm seeing everybody typing good. Yes, that's absolutely correct. Good is there. There we go. Tracy, ding, 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 ding. Tracy gets the gold star. Tracy saw the word that is also in there, and that word is evil. And that, so you can see good and evil, happy employees, disengaged employees. It's all about the other piece about engagement is the perception. People's perception of things can also help or hurt in regards to their engagement because it's their attitude. So if they perceive management doesn't like them, if they perceive that, the company doesn't care, their attitude is going to be affected. Their motives are going to be affected. They're going to be disinterested in the process. They're going to be, they don't care about the experiences. They don't care about expectations. They're going to be disengaged. So perception is also a piece of this engagement. So you want to make sure that their perception is correct. And, we all say perception is their reality. So we may sometimes have to change their perception. Just like right now, everyone thought that the word was good. I was actually trying to get you to see the word evil. Now, when I tell you that evil is in there, so right here in the G where you thought good was, look at the white. So that's the E. And then in the O, look at the white part. That's the V. The other O, the white part, is the I. Um, and then the D has the L. So now your perception of this word has changed. So that's exactly what we want to do with our employees. They may see it one way, but now we need to show them the other way in regards to so they can perceive it differently. And so now we're going to get into how do we do that? First we have to know what to be aware of, what to be wary of. The first thing we see is, Steve and Susie strugglers. These are the people that fall behind. If you hear a lot of, it's not my fault, it wasn't me, they never asked me to do that, then you could be talking to a disengaged employee. So the first thing we want to talk about is they could be struggling to finish their work because the position is not a right fit or the department culture is not a right fit. So, maybe we need to institute some type of behavioral assessment like the Omnia profile so we can get the people in the right seat on the right bus. Because within an organization, you can have many different cultures. Because think about your sales team. That's a different culture than your service team. Your sales team is a little more competitive. Your service team is a little more supportive. So when we talk about maybe they're not on the right bus, I'm talking about maybe they're not in the right culture. Maybe it's not the right manager fit. So maybe we need to figure out which manager is better suited to work with this individual, like by utilizing the Omni assessment in regards to direct reports and leadership styles. Let's match that up. So maybe that will help. So while they may be in the right seat, meaning they may be in the right position, maybe it's the management style that we can adjust. The next thing you want to think about in regards to the strugglers in your office and falling behind and helping them become engaged is find out if it's a head, heart, or hand issue. And what I mean by that is it a head issue? They don't have the knowledge. Maybe I have not given them enough information in regards to the complete the responsibilities. So maybe we need to work on, some extra training, or maybe I need to sit with them, or maybe having a mentor with them, to so a place that they can go to, or a person that they can go to kind of talk about, the issues that they're having or where they're struggling. The next one is heart. Maybe they don't have the passion, and a couple of you all said that in regards to disengaged employees, and if they are engaged, they have passion. Maybe they don't have the passion for it. I talk to clients all the time where when I look at their profile, they have a great pattern for sales, but for some reason, they're struggling in regards to selling, for example, insurance. And sometimes if the person doesn't have passion, it's hard to create that passion. So that's something that we kind of discuss in the interview, like what are your passions? Because if someone doesn't have passion for the insurance industry, and they don't think that it's the best thing since sliced bread, they may have a harder time selling insurance. While if I tell them, if I put them in a car sale scenario, they are, the cars are flying off the shelves, basically. I mean, they're just driving off the lot one after another because they have a passion for the torque engine and the bling and the flashing lights. So we want to find out about that passion, and the great way to find that out is during the interview. So because we want to make sure that we're hiring right the first time. So in that interview, find out where their heart is. Find out what, when they are off of work, what do they like to do? That is a great kind of icebreaker starter question. Because when you're conducting interviews, you don't necessarily want to get right at the meat. What have you been doing for the last 3 years? Can you type, or can you open an Excel spreadsheet? So, as you're walking to the office, as you're walking them to the office, asking them, what do you like to do in your free time? That's a great question to kind of find out where their passion is. And then the last one, is it a hand issue? Meaning, do they have the tools needed to complete the task? For example, if I'm supposed to print reports and you've given me a new computer, but you did not connect the printer to my computer, how do you expect me to print the reports? So it's, making sure that I have the tools that I need to complete the job. And so that's the hand issue. So when you have some Susie strugglers, which will look like disengaged employees, let's try to find out exactly why they're struggling. So once you figure out why they're struggling, then you can start finding ways to improve, which will help go from disengaged to engaged. So the next people that we want to be aware of is the lone wolf. And if your employee makes excuses about missing company picnics, they are never at the holiday parties, they may be disengaged or and out of step. Not feeling part of the group can fuel dissatisfaction. Nobody wants to be the lonely kid at the lunch table, the last one to get picked for any projects. That can be a very dangerous scenario. So, how can we fix this? Well, first let's do some team building exercises. You want to build in some activities which can range from icebreakers during meetings, quick little getting to know you things, and company outing. So if you do have a company outing, don't let the outing just be, like we're all going to go to a baseball game. Include some icebreakers, include some getting to know you moments in those outings. You can play like, you can do happy hour events for high sales. You can invite employees and their families to the company picnics. Because what happens is when you start getting people on that emotional level, that's when you start getting them engaged because now they're emotionally connecting to the business, they're emotionally connecting to each other. Because think about it. You will work really hard. You'll go through the to the ends of the earth for your family. Why? Because you have an emotional connection to them. So you want people to feel that about your business as well, about their coworkers as well. And the way I get to know you on an emotional level is not just to know that, yep, Cynthia's great. She has high attention to detail. She really does a great job. I need to know about Cynthia's daughter and that she's in Girl Scouts and that she's in dance. That gives me emotional connection to Cynthia. And so when you have that emotional connection, that's gonna help in regards to me becoming engaged because I won't feel like I'm the lonely person at the lunch table. Next is have regular meetings. You may want to have, hold some impromptu gatherings, something that they can't get away from, that they can't say, "Oh no, I'm busy." We're going to have an impromptu meeting. So something that they can't avoid. You may want to try that tactic, or you may want to go completely in the opposite direction when we talk about having regular meetings. You may want to send out a detailed agenda, giving them enough time to really come up and think about how they're going to answer the question. So in that detailed agenda, you're going to talk about, the things that you want to bring up. Like this quarterly meeting, I want us to discuss ways that we can improve our customer service process or ways that we can and increase our brand recognition, our marketing. So now, if you send that out a week in advance, before the meeting, now you're giving those lone wolves time to think about an answer because sometimes these lone wolves, they're just not great on the fly, that they need some advance notice so they can kind of go and research and think about great answers that will wow my boss. Sometimes lone wolves, they don't want to say anything because they don't want to be wrong. And if they haven't vetted it themselves, if they haven't researched it themselves, they may kind of sit by themselves. But if you give them a week to really go home and look on the computer and use Google and find out, oh, this is a great way, this is what's new in the industry, your meetings will probably be a lot more productive because now people are engaged because you gave them enough time to think about it. So when you have some lone wolves of disengagement in your organization, you can, think about the team building because you want to bring in that emotional connection, but also think about regular meetings, having, sending out a detailed agenda of exactly what you're going to ask them and exactly what this meeting is going to be about will assist in bringing that disengaged employee into engagement. The next person you want to be aware of is the Shane and Sarah stagnant. I'm just here for for the paycheck. Raise your hand if you have people in your organization that you absolutely know that they are there just for the paycheck. Oh my goodness, all the hands are going up so fast. So I see that we have a lot of people with the "I'm just here for the paycheck" on the line today. You have those people that, if jobs come with, less than glamorous responsibilities. We all know that. I mean, not everyone is going to love 100% of their job, and that's just the nature of the beast. But what you want is them to enjoy the majority of their job. But so it's important for us to balance out the grunt work with the challenging assignments too. When you only dole out repetitive type tasks or tasks that people feel is beneath their skill level, you will sometimes get that "I'm just here for the paycheck." If they don't respect my skill set, if they don't respect my knowledge, then I'm just here, I'm just here to get the check then. So you want to make sure that you are giving them some challenges. And so you may want to ask them to lead a project. You may want to assign an employee a challenging task and actually put your trust in him or her to see it through. What you're doing when you're asking someone to lead a project is that you're telling them, "I know you're capable of this and I trust that you can do a great job." Now, once again, now you're going to add that emotional connection piece. And because now, oh, what? Jackie thinks that I can do a great job. Well, I'm going to try to do a great job for Jackie. I'm going to, and you have to be genuine in regards to when you're saying it. And, leading up to that, you have to kind of build them up. in regards to helping them lead projects. It is important to consistently find new ways to challenge your employees. So when you think about, all those hands that went up about I'm here just for the paycheck, have they been there for a long time? They may be getting, a little stagnant in regards to I've done the same thing for 3 years. I never get to do anything else. So you may want to think about how I can how I can kind of change their job a little bit. And finding out what their strengths are can help you in regards to putting them lead on certain projects because even the Shane and Sarah Stagnant that are in your office, they have strengths too. While we probably really know their challenges, they also have strengths. Everyone in your office has strengths and challenges. Our job is to make sure that we're working them to their strengths and manage them through the challenges. So you also may want to ask them for improvement ideas. Send out an email saying, over the next week, if you all can think of new ways to improve our process, our marketing, please send me an email. But then, when you ask for improvement ideas, you also have to answer it. Not saying that everything is going to be put in place and that, we're going to throw it at the wall and it's going to stick and we're going to run with it. But you have to acknowledge the person that they gave an idea because people want to feel valued. If I am just sending something out and I never get a response, then I'm going to stop sending things out. I'm going to stop caring. I'm going to just start showing up for my paycheck. And on Friday, when I get it, I'm leaving. So it's not only about asking, but it's also about making sure that you respond to them. The next one that we want to worry about is, we can all hear this on the SNL, Debbie Downer. So it's Derek and Debbie Downer. All news is bad news. They never have anything positive to say. I'm going to ask for hands to be raised again. Have you ever done an employee engagement exercise? Let's say you did an ice cream social or something like that, and you heard through the grapevine that Debbie Downer said, well, they could have just, given up, they could have just put this money in my paycheck, or they could have, we could have just gotten the day off. See, there go all the hands going up again. You think you're doing a good thing, but there's going to be Debbie Downer or Derek Downer that's going to say something negative about it, and you're thinking you're doing something great, like I'm really trying to get into employee engagement. So, that means that you have a disengaged employee. Now, you think, should I keep the disengaged employee on the team and hope for the best or fire them and cut my losses? The first thing we want to do is counsel, probe for the problem. Find out why is Derek and Debbie Downer being this way. Ask important questions. Close with a commitment to action and follow up with the note. So I mean, now we've counseled them. We have a plan of action. We have an action plan basically. We've written it down. I've gotten their commitment. I've gotten their buy-in. You know, where the root of disengagement stems deeper than a short time personal challenge or a legitimate workplace problem, it might make sense to cut your losses and, move on. But I like to operate under the mindset that all people want to be engaged. I call me positive Polly, but I really do think that most of people in my organization, they want to be engaged. And I've seen a cynic turn to a champion. I've seen someone that has been that they could have just given me, the extra money in my paycheck, and I've seen that person turn into someone that was completely engaged in the process and sending me great ideas of improvement, and really wanting to help train new hires, bringing on. So I've seen that change once I instituted some policies of engagement. I've seen it switch. So it's imperative to the entire organization that you try and find out, whether or not your disengaged employee can be rescued. Because yes, I am telling you here and now, some of your Debbie Downers can be reignited and turned into engaged Ellens. And so, how do we do that? Let's talk about the leader's role in regards to changing, the disengaged or the actively disengaged into our champions. The first thing is, what's the mission or value statement? Let's talk about that. You want to convey your vision frequently and in many different ways. So it should not just be something that is framed on a wall, or it's a plaque, something on everyone's desk. It needs to be something that's living and breathing, meaning that in everything that you do, you're talking that everything goes back to the mission vision. When I'm creating goals, it goes back to the mission and vision. When I am hiring new people, I think about my statement, and does this person match up with what I'm trying to do within the organization, where I'm trying to go within the organization. Also use multiple forms of media, meaning when I'm in a staff meeting, when I'm at outings, when I'm sending out a newsletter, email, poster, whatever it is, I am hammering home this statement so they know it like the back of their hand. Everything that we do is focused on that one thing. And if you haven't looked at your mission or our vision statement in a while, maybe this is a great engagement exercise. Think sending it out to everyone in the organization for them to come up and create, what would you think our vision statement should be, our mission statement should be. We did that here at the Omnia group, and actually Cynthia, her statement is the one that won. And we have it throughout our organization. And we all know it. We all, everything that we do looks towards that statement. So you want everything you do and say to reinforce that vision, that mission that you have. So that's your role as a leader, is to make sure everything that I say, do, act goes towards that statement. The next thing that the leader's role is accountability. And the key for leaders in regards to engagement is to create an environment whereby people do the best that they can because they want to do it. That's what, and people do it when they're held accountable. In the atmosphere, holding people accountable will nearly always be a positive occurrence rather than negative. If we, one, are going towards that mission and vision statement, everything that we do is going towards that statement, and we're holding people accountable to that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing. I know when you think of, I'm holding people accountable, people typically think negative. No, you can think positive about holding people accountable. Think about when you are trying to lose weight or trying to stop smoking or whatever. When you have an accountability buddy, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. It helps you in regards to losing those last 10 pounds, or quitting or quit smoking. So it can get an engaged employee, it can keep an engaged environment going by knowing that everyone is being held accountable. And so you want to ensure that you are doing this by being clear about your expectations. So when we're talking about being clear, let's look at this statement here, and I want everyone to vote. On New Year's Eve, there will be no classes after 12 noon. So I have a class on New Year's Eve at 12 noon. Should I go to class? So this is the poster that's outside the door. Do I need to go to class on New Year's Eve? I'll give you a couple of seconds to kind of think about this question. Right, so I'll go ahead and count us down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'll end the poll. I'll broadcast. And look, 50 per, but I mean, it's basically half, but 54% people said no, they wouldn't. 45% of the people on the webinar said yes. So, was this message clear? It doesn't seem like it was, because if I'm the professor, I'm not going to have everybody in. Did this around the office. Um, in regards to asking this question, and it was basically the same. We had about a 45 55 split in regards to whether or not people would come to class. And the amazing and the ironic thing about when I did it here in the office was the more analytical types. So those are our column fours on the Omnia assessment. Those people, they said yes, they would come to class. And then our more gregarious individuals, which are the column threes on our Omnia assessment, they would not come to class. And so I had one four person that's very analytical. She said that she would email the professor first. And then I had another one that said, well, if the professor was strict about the attendance, I would show up. But if they weren't really strict, then I wouldn't. So we want to make sure that if we're holding people accountable, that we're clear. And you can see that when I created that message, I thought it was clear. I'm thinking that no, you don't have to go. I'm the professor. That's the sign that I put up. My I was intending everyone to take that day off because the way I looked at it was, well, if there's no class after 12, our class goes from 12:01 to 12:59. So that means there's no class. That's the way I looked at it, but somebody else could look at it totally different. That's why we want to make sure that we're clear. We want to make sure that we're clear with our employees. So when you're thinking about, when you're sending an email, when you're creating something, just reread it and kind of step outside of yourself for a second and say, does this make sense? Is this really clear? Or how about when you get those out of office emails, that says, I will be out until Monday. So are they in on Monday? Are they not in on Monday? It should be, I will be out through Monday. Okay, so that means I know, okay, you're not going to be there till Tuesday. So you want to make sure that you're very clear in regards to your message. You also want to be timely, meaning, if I didn't answer the phone right on Monday, please don't tell me on Friday that I really didn't like the way you answered the phone. Just like when you have kids, or children, when you have children, we have to make sure that we are correcting the behavior right then and not waiting because I'm not going to remember how I answered the phone on Monday if you tell me on Friday. So you want to be timely, but you also want to be timely on the positive side as well. Because don't forget, accountability is also a positive thing. So when I do something right, tell me right then that you enjoyed the way I handled that customer escalation. You enjoyed the way I handled that renewal. Tell me right then as well, and then be balanced. So recognize that as a human being, we do have differences in attitudes towards people, but we want to, when we're holding people accountable, you we have to apply the same rules for everyone, the same standards across the board. Of course, there's some people in your organization, of course, there's some employees that work for you that you love and enjoy, and they're just a delight to be around. So make sure that we don't favor them over the others. Also, there's nothing written in stone that says all forms of accountability must be negative. Again, in fact, I personally love it when someone holds me accountable for all the wonderful things, that I've done along the way. So be balanced not only across the board in regards to employees, but also be balanced in regards to don't just always, hold me accountable to the negative things. If we view accountability in both ways, then we can remove some of that stigma that goes with holding people accountable. While, because we definitely need to hold people accountable, but we want to look at it in both ways. It's a great concept when you think about accountability can be a good thing. So the next part of, the leader's role is continuous improvement. And how do we do that? The first thing is confront conflict head on. By transforming potential conflicts into opportunities for greater creativity and deeper understanding, that's going to help in regards to that engagement. It's going to positively impact your engagement score, excuse me. You don't want to be the manager that just kind of puts their head in the sand and not, kind of be actively involved. But you don't want to step in too quickly as well. Sometimes employees can resolve their own conflict. So it's almost like you have to wait a little bit, but you don't want to wait too long that the conflict has, has blown up to something that is almost unsavable. Conflict should be viewed as normal. Employees feel empowered to make decisions when you don't necessarily step in immediately. When an employee takes responsibility in regards to resolving the conflict, now they're taking ownership. And a few of you all said that about, what does engagement look like? It's taking ownership. And so now you've given them the license to kind of do that. So when staff experiences and conflict, think of it as opportunity of growth. Even if you do have to step in as a leader to talk about conflict, and we actually have a webinar that talks about conflict resolution. I believe we gave it earlier this year, which if you go to our YouTube channel, you can find out how the best way to handle conflict once you do have to get involved. So, but look at it as an opportunity of growth and a growing experience. The next part is, continuous improvement supports innovation. I mean, if we're always striving to be better, that's great. From the CEO to the receptionist, employees want their company to be better, and they know how to do it because especially the receptionists and the CSRs, they're on the ground floor. I mean, they're hearing the complaints, they're hearing things from the horse's mouth, essentially, from the client's mouth. And so sometimes they can come up with great ways for us to improve our processes. But as a leader, you have to support that. You have to allow that to happen. You have to allow that to be a part of your mantra in regards to come to me with your improvements. While we might not be able to put everything into place, definitely come to me and let me know, and maybe we can see what happens. And then you want to have two-way communication, meaning, sharing the results from the employee, sharing the results of what it looks like, of what the innovation that they came up with, how it may work, why it may not work, how we may need to tweak it, but allowing that feedback is essential. The next part of the leader's role is having an open door policy. So, that means being accessible. Just because your door is open doesn't necessarily mean you're accessible. But that is a great start, having the door open. Don't get me wrong, but we've probably all worked with people that had the open door policy. They had the door open, but you knew on Monday you should not go in, you should not break, go through the threshold of that door. So you want to ensure that you have managers that have that open door policy and that they are available, because when that door is open, that is a great opportunity for those quick chats, for those quick stop bys, and sometimes you can gain some amazing information by the quick stop by, or you may hear some things on the floor that, oh wow, I didn't know that was going on. Having your door open, you can learn a lot of things. You can, you can kind of stop disengagement in the process when you hear somebody saying something that's wrong. Well, let me go out there and kind of fix that, because the rumor mill has been churning and it's churning out some bad information. So let me go ahead and stop that in the past. Also, it helps with informal conversations, because now I don't feel like I have to set up a formal meeting, send you an email, and an Outlook request, invite. With the open door, I can just kind of stop by. And then the issues don't go unnoticed because you have your door open and things don't get out of whack when you have that open door policy. The next part of the leader's role is celebrating the wins. We all talk about that, of course, with engagement. We were not going to have a slide that didn't talk about celebrating the wins. So, but in regards to your role, you want to tie it back to that mission and value statement. You want to make sure that it's consistent. You know, you want to think about how to boost the team morale. It's great to do something for your entire team, like maybe catering lunch or bringing in donuts. However, appreciation appreciation is definitely a team sport. Meaning, it's not a team sport. Appreciation is not a team sport, because you want to make appreciation individual. So let's talk about you doing that great lunch and bringing in the donuts or buying pizza for the team. It can easily get lost in these types of group celebrations because now in one fell swoop, you have your top salesperson and your newbie intern that's been there 30 days have just been rewarded with the exact same thing, a slice of pizza, a pizza. Guess how valued your top employee feels. If that's the only celebration that they got was, I got a pizza, and the intern that's been here 30 days that hasn't sold anything got a piece of pizza, how engaged is that top salesperson going to be? So don't think about this as a team effort. It has to be individual. While we can definitely celebrate the team, you also want to celebrate the individual. If you have an employee that's done something great or awesome for the week, pull them aside, let them leave an hour early or 2 hours early on a Friday afternoon. That would be great. That's a great part of how to engage the employee. Of course, once again, you don't want to ostracize the people that aren't doing well, the rest of the team. So you want to make sure that it's consistent, and you don't want to play favorites. It's so important to pay attention and actively look for ways to award people. If this is not one of your strong suits, because some managers, they are very analytical. Your reward is that you have your paycheck. That is your reward. If you know that about yourself, then I suggest that you put 3 pennies out on your desk, and every time and by the end of the day, by the end of the week, those pennies should be inside your desk, meaning that you have congratulated at least 3 people. Sometimes we have to remind ourselves to celebrate those wins, because sometimes we can be stuck in the weeds and just trying to grind out, trying to get this work out there, trying to push it, and we forget to celebrate these wins. So you want to think about that. So now let's talk about, how can we celebrate the wins? Well, just a few things. Financial incentives always, bonus, commissions, and we can tie it back to our mission and vision statement. Don't forget, everything that we do is going back to that value statement. Have those team outings. And within those team outings, do those icebreakers. Do those getting to know you type activities. Send a personal email. Doesn't cost a thing to say you did a great job and explain why you think they did a great job. Maybe they get special parking. Once again, doesn't cost a thing. That's free. They just get the special parking. Or give them the shout outs, at a company wide meeting, letting everyone know that they did a great job. Understanding what motivates them, because I bet if I said, who would love to stand in front of the whole company and being applauded? Raise your hand if that's who you are. Not everybody's going to raise their hand, because not everybody wants to be front and center. So make sure you understand how your people like to be congratulated. So when we talk about doing shout outs and we talk about engagement exercises, one exercise that I love to do is called pairs. Sometimes I'll do it when I'm doing live seminars, getting to know each other, but you can do this also in your meetings as well, especially if you have a newly formed team, or even if you've had a team that's been there forever. But sometimes we just kind of go on with our day, and we forget to, because oh, I know Britt, I know Karen, I know CJ, I've worked with them for 10 years, and we forget to ask about what's new going on in your life. So it works for team members that have been together forever as well. The way pairs works is basically, you just think about things that go together, like Minnie and Mickey, peanut butter and jelly, paper clip and paper. So you write down on a piece of paper. So on one paper, you write paper. On another piece of paper, you write paper clip. So everyone gets something taped to their back. And so in the meeting, at the very beginning of the meeting, you just ask, everyone has to go around asking questions, and they can only ask yes or no questions. So the goal is to find your pair. And once you find your pair, you have to find out 3 things about this person, and you will then introduce this person to the team. And so it's just a quick little exercise that will help people get to know each other, because if I get to know you, I have an emotional connection to you. I'm going to feel bad if I don't give you the report, because I know that, Johnny is out there playing soccer and you really want to make it to his soccer game. And if I didn't get the report done on time, you're going to miss his soccer game. So now I have that emotional connection with Jackie, and I really want Jackie to go see her son play soccer. So, doing that little quick exercise is beneficial. or maybe do a sign your yearbook. I worked at an organization where they actually created a yearbook of all the employees. So when a new employee came in, that was also an engagement piece that they got to add their picture to our yearbook. And so, you know, if we would have this big quarterly meeting, and you remember in high school or middle school how when the yearbooks came out, you would go around and everyone would sign your yearbook. So at the quarterly meeting, we would, the first 15 minutes or first 10 minutes would be sign my yearbook session. So you would go around and everyone would get to sign their yearbook about what they really liked about this person. So, that once again, we're trying to get that emotional connection, like I said in the beginning. Name that staff member. At another company I worked with, we would, for the quarterly meeting, we would put three things up on the PowerPoint presentation. So we'd have three things on the slide, and we would have to say, name that, and we would say, name that employee. And so it's kind of like name that tune by, giving you little snippets of this person's life, because that's going to add that emotional connection. At that same organization, we had the Hall of Fame, where, on each hallway, we had a, a an active part of our mission statement. Value our clients was one of the was a piece of our mission statement. So we had a value our client wall, or excuse me, hall. And whenever we saw someone or heard someone doing that, their name would go up on that hall. And so that it would be called the Phyllis Hall for the week, or the Phyllis Hall for the day. And because Phyllis showed how she really went above and beyond for our clients. The next one is Volunteer Day, bringing people together. And what you could do is, let's say Phyllis, because Phyllis did such an awesome job this quarter, Phyllis gets to pick the organization that we're going to volunteer for. So not only are you helping your community, which if that is part of your mission statement, that is one of those check the box, that is doing exactly what we want it to do. And now I'm showing Phyllis that I appreciate her, that we're going to spend time doing something that she's passionate about. So now with Phyllis, well, wow, they're helping something that I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about them. So now I've engaged Phyllis as well. So think about, these are just a few of the exercises that you can do in regards to adding that emotional connection. So when we think about engagement and we think about the high cost unhappy employees are costing us, we want to stop that. And how do we stop that? Basically, the bottom line is be open, be honest. Have an open, honest communication, have an open door policy. You know, the rumor mills are always churning. So we want to shut down the rumor mills, because the rumor mills kind of help disengagement. So be open, be honest. If something is coming down the pike, well, it's not great news. We might not be able to put a positive spin on it, but let them know that, this is what we're thinking may happen. Once we get everything ironed out, we will definitely come to you with a plan of action. Recognize their efforts. Everybody wants to be recognized. Even if it's that lone wolf that seems like they just come in to their office, close their door. Everybody wants to be recognized for their effort, not necessarily when they have made it happen, and they did 10 million in a quarter. Wouldn't that be awesome if you had a salesperson that did that? But not only recognize, but you want to recognize the effort. If you see someone really tried and was really pushing, and they came up with a new innovative idea, maybe didn't work out the way we planned, recognize that they came up with the idea, that they care enough about your company to think about ways to improve it. You want to show empathy, meaning that we are all individuals. We are all going through things. So we want to kind of put ourselves in their shoes sometimes. I know sometimes as managers, we have so many things that we're thinking about that we may forget about what it was like, or what it's like to be on the phones day in and day out, and hearing things. So just remember to, kind of put yourself in their shoes sometimes. And also give them purpose, meaning challenge them. If I've been doing the same job for the last 10 years and have done nothing else, maybe I'm looking for a challenge. Ask them about, what else would you like to do, or what, what other areas would you like to kind of explore? Give them purpose, because now if I feel like I have purpose, now I'm going to be more engaged. I'm going to be more part of the process. And then communicate the expectations clearly. Just like that exercise in regards to good and evil. A lot of people didn't see the evil until I pointed it out, until, you know, I told you. So remember that perspective, but then also remember that, the if there's no class after 12 p.m., do I have to go to class? Make sure that you're communicating that um, clearly. Then you want to make sure that you're talking to them in the way that they need that they need that they need. We all have probably experienced times where somebody was talking, you kind of get the eyes, the deer in the headlight eyes, because you really don't know what they're saying anymore. And that's just because they're not communicating the way that you would receive it. So we want to find out that information. And Omnia can definitely help you in regards to, like what's in your toolbox, finding out about the sales style or their professional development. Or the other main piece that we can help you with is actually finding out about your culture, because a lot of people leave positions because of the position, excuse me, because of the culture, not necessarily because of the position. So with the Omnia group, we can send out a 20 question survey, and it's anonymous. It gives, and we send it out, lets the people take about a month to complete, and then we will give you a detailed Excel spreadsheet and an overview about what we see your culture is, and we will also give you some helpful hints and tools and tips and tricks on how to improve the culture after we have dissected the information. So, think about building that engagement culture. Are there any questions in regards to, the high cost of engaged employees? And as you are typing your questions, you can type your questions right down here at the bottom. I want to mention that next month it will be about employee retention strategies for keeping your top talent. So we got them engaged. Now we want to retain them, because now they're so happy. We want to make sure that they stay with us. So as you're typing your questions, I know typically when I talk about employee engagement, I typically get the question about what are some of the misconceptions employers have the employees. The One of the big myths that I hear is that it's the immediate boss that must be the problem. And sometimes it's really not the immediate boss. The immediate boss is just kind of talking, kind of handing down the information from the higher up. So sometimes it's not the immediate boss that is the issue. It could be the higher up, the C level. So we have to, when we think about engagement, we have to think about it from the top down. Everyone has to be engaged in the process. Another one is another myth that I hear sometimes, that people think that everybody wants a hands-off boss. And that's not necessarily accurate. Not everybody wants a complete hands-off boss. Not everybody wants a complete micromanager either, but it's a balance. It's meaning setting the people up for success. And then lastly, employee engagement. Employees just don't care about the company. Employees actually do really care about the company. And they want to work for a company that they're proud of. So, you know, don't just think that none of your employees care. They actually do. But we just want to really water that piece to ensure that we keep them caring. And, as I close out, if you have any questions, that maybe, you didn't want to ask on the chat, you can definitely send me an email. If you have any suggestions in regards to the webinars that you want to see us do on these lunch and learns, please send me an email as well. Colleen, I see Colleen's question. If you use an employee engagement survey, what level of transparency do you recommend in sharing the results? Thank you for that question, Colleen. You want to be as transparent as possible, meaning that you don't necessarily want to have the individual answer because that may give it away of who said it. If you have a sales team and only one person deals with this segment of the business, they only deal with employee benefits, and what they mention is something about employee benefits, that can then, oh, well, Dig, we're talking about Renee. Renee said that. So you want to be as transparent as possible. So I would take the meat of what they're saying and removing the identifiers. So that's how transparent that you want to be, as transparent as possible without identifying the actual person who said it. But then also when you look at employee engagement surveys, the next piece of not only about the transparency is is doing something about it. Now you have the results. Now let's make sure that we are doing something, we are acting upon the feedback that we received. It looks like we are right at the 60 minutes. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Please check out our Facebook and YouTube channels in regards to getting this recording. And like I said, if you have any questions, definitely give me a call or send me an email, and I will be happy to answer those for you. If you have comments or feedback about the webinars that you've heard, or if you have suggestions in regards to the webinar that you would like to you would like to see us present, definitely send me an email and we can get those answered. And we can see if we can include those in our 2017 webinars. Thank you so much, and I hope everyone has a great day.